standing here on 6th Avenue and 29th Street, where basically all the businesses are closed. Coronavirus, and also everybody, the business owners or employees that remain are shoring up their businesses for tonight to just make certain that they don't get attacked and destroyed. Any place that might have been, hoping to stay open, perhaps isn't due to the protests. I wanted to put a video out today. It's pretty hot. This is the hottest day so far this year in New York City, 2020. It might be 90 degrees. There is a protest that has just begun, 3 p.m. I saw somewhere on the internet, 3 p.m., 34th and 5th Ave. So I'm headed over there right now. I don't think I'm interested in speaking to too many of the people who are at the protest. They seem to be quite convinced of their point of view. So I don't really want to get involved in those conversations too much. I just sort of want to document what's going on. I want to help people understand the climate. It is right now physically very hot. People can see it was raining before. I was outside earlier, and it was nice. It was sunny and kind of intermittently overcast. I did not expect it to rain, but there was a brief but pretty heavy, obviously, period of rain. And now it's just really humid and hot and wet. And I'm concerned about what may happen tonight. I was watching Andrew Cuomo's press conference earlier today. I should have taken notes. I mean, everything that guy says is just absolutely stupid and unhelpful. And, they continue to promote peaceful protesting, which is fine. It's contradictory to their former position. I hope people who've been watching for a while may recall that I think it was May 1st, 5 weeks ago, something like that. A bunch of people put together a permitted protest in City Hall Park, public space. Got the permit, the police were there, the protest was expected and calm and all that, definitely peaceful. No rioting, no violence towards police during that, but they shut it down by order of the governor. So what changed? Why is Andrew Cuomo so interested in promoting peaceful protests about this issue, but he's not interested in a peaceful protest that challenges his renouncing the Constitution and taking away people's First Amendment rights, even in the middle of the day when there is no curfew? We still technically have these gubernatorial advisories or whatever they are about staying home if you're non-essential. I did hear him renounce the Buffalo Police Department. The officers, there are 2 officers, I guess, who've been fired. There was an incident where a 75-year-old man was pushed. They were apparently enforcing a curfew in Buffalo, and the guy got pushed and fell over backwards and was injured. Now, obviously, that's very unfortunate. And, 75-year-old guy, very unlikely to be a serious threat to a police officer in his 20s or 30s or whatever age the police officer might be. He's armed. He's got a lot of guys with him. But Cuomo was adamant that those officers were terrible, that incident was awful. He didn't take the stance that politicians usually do, which is that they want to see all the evidence before they make any kind of public statement, because I don't know what that old man was saying, and certainly there's no justification for busting somebody's skull like that and having him bleed out the ears. The guy could die. We don't want him to have the death penalty. But we don't know what was going on. And the thing that I wanted to do, because the governor and the mayor have failed to do this, is that I'm hopeful that I can help people to distinguish between a peaceful protest and a dangerous riot. And it's easy. It's easy. Now, first of all, I'll tell you what makes it easy, but first I want to remind everybody what makes it difficult. This is an image, if people recall, from maybe last week. I think just 1 week ago on Saturday, I went out to a peaceful protest. I had no idea it was scheduled. I just happened upon it. People saw me in Washington Square Park there. And this individual in the center of the frame, the white guy in the black shirt with the hat, he wasn't peaceful. He threatened to kill me. The African guy on the right side of the frame, you know, he antagonized me and kept following me while this weirdo Charles Manson looking dude was threatening to kill me. This woman with her finger in my face was pretty aggressive, started yelling at me when there was a bunch of people around me. I felt very threatened. If I had a weapon and the authority to use it, I would have used it to defend myself. People will recall there was even some doughy, sissy sounding guy who was quite a bit larger than me, who pushed me. If I had a stick, I would have bopped him on the head with it. If I had the authority to do that, I would do it. So people need to remember that the police were on day 13 of civil unrest in New York City. Every business is closed because of, first, the coronavirus lockdown, which I still contend violates everybody's constitutional right. We have no medical consensus. We don't even have sufficient medical evidence that the ways they've explained coronavirus can be spread are valid. We don't know that. They haven't proved that. In fact, they just changed it recently, saying that surfaces aren't as much of a concern. First they said you don't need a mask, it's just symbolic. Now they're saying everybody needs a mask. I mean, the fact is they don't know what the hell they're talking about at best, or they're constantly moving the goal to frustrate people at worst. But it seems arbitrary, and there's all kinds of qualifiers with various laws that they just can't be applied arbitrarily. So, how did they decide that they know what's going on with COVID-19? I don't think they do. But anyway, they've determined that, it's within your rights to protest, and then at 8 o'clock there's a curfew. Now, some people have decided that they're going to protest the curfew by defying it, and as part of my helpful public service announcement that I hope can help some people understand the difference between a peaceful protest and a dangerous riot, if you're violating the curfew, you're in a riot. It's that simple. You are. Because the First Amendment is not without limitations. You can't use your freedom of speech to spread lies about other people. You can't use it to incite violence and instruct people to harm other people. You can't, everybody's heard, you can't shout fire in a crowded theater. There's limitations to freedom of speech. There's limitations to how you can assemble and utilize your First Amendment rights. And when they put a curfew in place because mass crime sprees have destroyed civilized society within New York City and made it a place that is incompatible with doing business and living your life if you are not a criminal, well, then that curfew has been put in place for the greater good of all of society. Black people, white people, people of any race, any political affiliation that's been determined by the government, that for everybody's safety, there needs to be a curfew so that the NYPD, the law enforcement agency in New York City, can reestablish law and order so that regular citizens can come outside of their homes and go into businesses without the fear of being smashed with bricks and rocks and accosted on the street and threatened with death and pushed in the way that I was. For people who consider themselves essential workers as protesters or as journalists, look right in the middle of the frame to the right of the Charles Manson looking guy. There's two people with their cell phones out and they're recording the action. You'll remember there was a guy on another day who rolled up to me and said he was helping me. He was helping me by recording what many people felt was going to be me getting beaten up. I don't think that was true. I think that guy was trying to help himself. He wanted a video that would be one of these viral protest riot videos where somebody gets beaten up in the street, and I was to be the subject of that video. I didn't need his help. I didn't ask for his help. I certainly didn't want his help. And I think that was a guy who was, making an excuse, saying that he was helping me, because if he said, I was hoping you were going to get your head caved in and I would have that on video and go viral and be on the news, and if I was the white guy killed at the protest, who knows? That guy might have had designs on becoming famous. So I mean, admittedly, I'm a half an hour late, so I guess these guys are marching somewhere. But we can go see. It looked like it was heading west, but we can just walk around and continue to check out the city. The point I'm trying to make is, just because you're standing in the middle of a riot with a cell phone or a camera around your neck, don't think that the cops are going to immediately presume that you are a journalist and that you are essential and that you are allowed to be on the street. If you are outside past the curfew and the cops are in the process of enforcing a curfew, you might be subject to arrest, and that could be very painful. I mean, I don't really think it's too reasonable for people to expect the cops to behave in the same way during a citywide matter of civil unrest as they would, in the middle of the week in 2018 or something like that, when there's nothing crazy going on. Just like that scenario where I'm surrounded by 5 people who are threatening me and saying F you and pushing me and getting aggressive. That's a powder keg. And the difference between that being a peaceful protest and that erupting into me getting beaten down and rioted on is a split second. So, if you're there with your hands in the air in front of the police past 8 p.m. saying peaceful protest, you're lying to yourself, you're lying to the police, and you're lying to the public, and you're probably about to have your head cracked in. And I'm not saying that is what you deserve, but you're putting yourself at risk of that. So if you're watching this right now, and if you know of someone who is out at a protest right now, hopefully they'll listen to you, even if they won't listen to me, but please tell them that if they really want to peacefully protest, they need to respect the rules and the law, and you can protest laws that you disagree with without breaking them. I think we want New York City to open on Monday without incident. My fear right now is that New York City will open on Monday, and then Monday night there's going to be massive damage, looting, rioting, major unrest, because then that will disrupt the whole process of getting back to business and trying to restart society under whatever this supposed new normal is going to be. So let's get back to this guy, this 75-year-old guy in Buffalo. We don't know what it was that he said to the police, but the point of the matter is, if the police say back up, they're giving you an order. And you see, something that it seems to me a lot of the protesters don't understand is that they want instant street-level justice, and it's just not the way the United States or the world or anything can work. A government, a city filled with people, there are a lot of parameters to all these things, and we've established laws, and we've got this due process where people are presumed innocent until proven guilty or whatever. But the police aren't a court, and the police aren't a judge. And when the police tell you to do something, if you don't do it, it escalates the situation. If the police officer tells you to back up and you fail to follow that order, the guy's already racking up charges in his head. He pushes you to move you back. I do believe that is within their authority, and I don't know this for a fact, but I would even speculate that during a riot, the police are probably authorized to use techniques, tactics, and maybe even force that wouldn't be authorized under normal conditions. So if you do not want to get injured, if you do not want to put the police at risk, then you should go home, and be home at 8 o'clock. Be inside your house at 7:59 p.m. Be off the streets, and then you're good. You're definitely not going to be in a dangerous riot. And even if you are out on the streets and not participating in a dangerous riot, just the very fact that you and a group of people are sitting there with your hands up saying peaceful protest, the police need to be there to make sure nobody comes and riots on you, or that nobody infiltrates your peaceful protest and throws a Molotov cocktail at them, or a rock, or a brick. And even if that doesn't happen, you are preventing those police from going elsewhere in New York City where they might be preventing a crime. They might be preventing somebody's business from getting destroyed. They might be preventing somebody from getting stabbed or shot or kicked in the head. And I mean, where is the justice in that? If you are facilitating that, that's not a peaceful protest. That is breaking the law, disrupting the police, preventing them from protecting other people who have, they don't deserve to be beaten and robbed and shot and stabbed. I mean, now we've got multiple deaths racking up, multiple serious injuries racking up. I can't imagine that George Floyd or anyone who supported him would have wanted that, although I don't know, maybe I can't get inside the guy's head. Point is, if you are really into peaceful protesting, that means you want peace. If you're into destroying the NYPD and disrupting their ability to maintain order and uphold the law, then by all means, defy the curfew and take your chances. But, they're going to do what they need to do to enforce the law, and I support that. I don't want chaos. The other thing I want to encourage people to do is, I was watching a Lee Stranahan documentary. He's posted a rough cut of a documentary that he did called something about how Black Lives Matter was founded. Maybe it's exposing Black Lives Matter or the origin of Black Lives Matter or whatever. And he talks a bit, he made it months ago, or maybe even 2 years, 3 years ago. Andrew Breitbart is in it, so it's been being shot for a long time, and he talks about some of these things that are remarkably gaining traction, this concept of defunding the police. I don't think that is a sensible approach to problems and issues that people have with the way the police do their job. I also want to remind people, I don't want to be a police officer. It seems like a very dangerous job to confront criminals and, terrorists and lunatics, people who want to kill you and others around you. I mean, that is a dangerous job that I think most people don't want to do. And think about your own job. Do you perform it perfectly? Have you ever made a mistake? Was there ever something you tried to do that didn't turn out the way you wanted it to, even though you tried? And think about your coworkers. Aren't there some coworkers who almost never make mistakes, and others who, what kind of mistakes you see them making, and sometimes they're fatal and that person needs to be removed from their job, and sometimes they're just like, well, you know what, this is a good person who's trying hard. That was an unfortunate outcome. Let's see if we can change something about their approach or the assignments we give them or whatever. But the point is, even if a police officer were 98.5% doing great, and he tells somebody to back up, and the guy says, I'm not backing up, I'm Black Lives Matter, or whatever he might have said, that caused the cop to push him, I don't think that cop intended to give the guy a concussion or fracture his skull or whatever it was that ultimately happened, but that was the unfortunate and accidental outcome. If you watch that video again, which the mainstream news and Stephen Colbert and other communists have just been playing select little segments of it, Stephen Colbert just plays the part right where the guy gets pushed over and falls and bleeds, and then it looks like some cops are around him, so one cop pulls him away, says, don't help him, and they say, oh, they walk away. Aren't they cruel and terrible? I've watched it many, many times, and I've been thinking about it. The police are in riot gear. They're coming down the street. They obviously tell this guy who approaches them walking the opposite direction that they're trying to move the crowd. I presume the police tell him back up. You can see that you can't hear what they're saying, but you see the police say something, this guy says something, and he doesn't back up. So then he gets pushed. And I've seen other videos where police first tell someone to back up, and then when they don't do that, that someone gets pushed. And if you went to court and said, this is police brutality, the officer would testify, I gave this person an order, they did not take it, there was a riot going on, so I enforced the order by pushing the person back. And the judge very likely would say, yeah, that's okay. It's unfortunate that the guy tripped over his own feet or the sidewalk or whatever, but if you are 75 and maybe if you don't have good balance, or if you just don't want to risk a confrontation with the police and getting pushed backward and falling over and cracking your skull and bleeding out your ears, stay home. Or don't walk right up to the police, or participate in a protest in a way that you can guarantee your own safety. Just think about your own safety and the safety of the police. But these officers have now been fired before there's been a trial, before there's been an examination. They've been investigating the activity of that guy, Francisco Garcia, for weeks, and there's been no announcement. I mean, that's a guy who punched a dude, sat on top of him, punched him in the head again. That's way different than just a straight arm back up. We've seen a lot of cops doing that. And I think that we got to be really careful. The other thing that I've seen a lot of is people are going out at night during these, riots past curfew. They're out. And I contend that it is no longer a peaceful protest, no matter what you're doing after the curfew. You are complicating the job of the police, which is to maintain order and prevent crime in New York City. So you're complicating that. And just in the way that Tu Tao and those other two officers who sat on George Floyd and didn't tell Derek Chauvin, hey, it's enough, get off the guy and let's put him in the car. Just in the same way that those guys are accomplices to murder, if you're out past the curfew, you're an accomplice to rioting. You are helping the rioters achieve what they want to do, which is run all over the city undeterred by the police, doing crime, beating up people, breaking windows, stealing items from stores, causing chaos, and making the average person feel totally unsafe walking down the street in New York City. And, if you want that, then cool, keep doing what you're doing. If you don't want that, go home. Peacefully protest during the day, during the time that you're legally permitted to exercise your First Amendment rights. That's a fair compromise. In my view, if the governor had said, look, everybody has to stay home, but we're permitting a protest in City Hall Park today from 3 to 4, or whatever the restrictions on the permit might be, that's a compromise. That would be reasonable people recognizing that they feel that there's a need to keep people isolated. I don't think they had scientific basis for that. I think the police do have a basis for needing to maintain order in New York City when every business is closed and the majority of them have been smashed. That's different than we don't have empirical evidence that what Dr. Fauci has told us about coronavirus is true, and that the only way to solve it is to close your business and stay home and ruin the economy. No evidence of that. Definite evidence of rioting and looting and widespread crime. So there is a good reason for this curfew. We need to restore order to this city. We need a city run by law, not by chaos. And this defund the police, that is an absolutely terrible idea. So right, the Lee Stranahan documentary talks a lot about the origins of Black Lives Matter. And I forget the names of the three women who started it, but they're very open about the fact that their ideological inspiration is this woman, Assata Shakur, who was part of I think it was called the Black Liberation Army, which was a kind of a subset of the Black Panthers, who were pretty violent themselves. The other day somebody told me that the Black Panthers were smeared because I think they saw this Vanguard of the Revolution documentary on PBS. But Lee does a very good job of pointing out how that specific documentary is deliberately hiding facts from history, documented, easy to see. Lee's got interviews with some of the people who are still alive. The filmmaker of that Vanguard movie basically was cropping certain images to make them look less militant and less pro-violence than they actually are. They are very pro-violence. Peaceful protest right there. But Lee does a very good job of pointing out how that PBS movie is propaganda. And Assata Shakur murdered a police officer and then fled to Cuba, where she remains. So, I mean, if your heroes are people that would murder police officers, then that's cool. But this is a pretty common tactic, by the way, to create some kind of an organization that sounds really nice, like open society. That sounds good, right? Open, everybody's open. Society sounds, that's a nice word. Open society, we want that. Patriot Act. Yeah, I'm a patriot, I want that. But these things, they do the opposite of what the names would suggest. And this is a pretty common tactic. It's a social engineering tactic. These people are going to get upset that I'm recording them, so we just keep them on camera in case they do anything stupid. But that's a pretty common tactic, to name something the opposite of what it actually is, or to name it something that can't be argued with. I mean, obviously Black lives matter. Everybody's life matters. Anyone who would say, well, this group or that group doesn't matter, I mean, of course, you're a jerk. Who would say that? You just can't argue with the concept that Black lives matter. So if you try to tell anybody anything about it other than, yeah, you better be with this or we're going to encircle you on the street and beat the crap out of you or whatever, you know, that's what's happening. But when you know what this thing is about and what it really stands for, it's not about that. It's about manipulating Black people and supporters of Black Lives Matter to get them to do something else, like participate in what they think is a peaceful protest, but actually is cover for and assistance to a lawless riot intended to disrupt the police and end the police. We're actually seeing jurisdictions that are defunding their own police departments. LAPD is being cut by $150 million. I believe Garcetti announced that yesterday or the day before. And I think Minneapolis is defunding their police department as well. It's a coffee shop, I guess. Yeah, every place is selling masks now. They've already said they're going to make masks mandatory. I mean, keep in mind, if you're worried about a riot, you know, having to wear a mask everywhere seems like, you know, less of a concern. Maybe it's like when Daffy Duck or Porky Pig has a mouse in his hotel and he calls down for a cat, and then the cat is disrupting him, so he calls down for a dog, and then the dog is disrupting him, so he calls down for a lion, and the problems keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger to the point where it seems like, you know, maybe the mouse wasn't so bad. So all these businesses are closed. Oh, this is open. Oh, I think this is Louis Rossman's place, actually. This is a Mac repair place. Yes, right. I've seen these guys on YouTube before. So they're open if you need your Mac fixed. That's an interesting place. Louis, he's on YouTube fixing Macs, and Apple, I think, gives him a hard time because they don't want people to fix them. They want people to throw them away and buy a new one. But, you know, he's just a guy trying to do honest business, employing other New Yorkers. That's got to be rough. I don't know if I would want to go out on the street and get my Mac repaired right now. I mean, certainly wouldn't do it after 8 o'clock at night. But, I mean, when you start to look into the Black Panthers and the Weather Underground and this Black Liberation Army and what they wanted to do, they wanted to release everybody from the prisons. They're prison abolitionists. They say that any Black person who's in prison, no matter what the crime, murder, triple murder, bombing buildings, Molotov cocktails, whatever the crime, kidnapping, rape, whatever, they're all political prisoners according to these groups, and they should be released. And Ho Chi Minh, who was a communist, or, you know, whatever flavor of communism he was into, he said, when you open the prison doors, that's when the real dragon will fly out. And during the coronavirus debacle, we heard of so many places that were just releasing prisoners because they were worried they were going to get coronavirus. Well, that's nuts. Aren't they worried? I mean, at the same time, they were bashing people's heads and putting them in jail for not wearing the masks. So, I mean, there's just no circumstance under which they can purport. This guy's from Washington State, out of state. So they're people coming to New York City from Washington State. What's that about? So it's now been stated and restated that bicycle runners are being used to spread intelligence information around the city to rioters. That might be a cop in there. To have a police escort like that for an ambulance? rough customers walking around. Wow, I've never seen, that's the Port Authority police. I've never seen a police vehicle like that before. But, my question is, why is there not a protest at City Hall? Why aren't people protesting the mayor? Rather than defunding the police, what about maybe retraining them or changing the rules about what sort of arrest techniques they're allowed to use? What about trying to understand some of the problems that maybe the police have? Why is no one demanding that Francisco Garcia be fired and charged with assault? He didn't kill the guy, but maybe if we charge him with assault, put him in jail for a year or two, let other cops know you can't do that, put some rules in place. Maybe that's a better way to do it. No face mask, no entry policy is in effect here. Yeah, but all these places are smashed up. The bar is open. That's crazy. By the way, that's a factor too. So people are drinking in these things. You're standing around. It's a volatile situation that could erupt at any second. This pizza place doesn't have glass up, the $1 pizza place. Perhaps that's a rioter's restaurant of choice. But I mean, look at all these businesses around here, the supermarket. How does this make people feel in a general sense to be walking around a city that is dangerous to be in constantly? It's like a low-level stressor that's not good or helpful for anybody. I've been hearing helicopters all day, so we've gone, people who've been watching for a few weeks are going to remember that it's been mostly remarkably quiet. I mean, we're still not back to the normal level of street activity here in New York City, but there's definitely more people around now than there have been. Again, it was reiterated by Andrew Cuomo that New York is going to start reopening. He was talking more about how coronavirus hospital admissions are down. They're doing more tests than ever. So if we've got 13 days, he said at the beginning of his press conference, today is day 13 of protests related to George Floyd. He died on the 25th, right? It was Memorial Day. So day 13, we were previously told by Fauci and the other geniuses that it's, a 2-week gestation period for coronavirus. So obviously, nothing medical. It's not a stopwatch. So some people are going to get it in 12 days. Some people are going to get it in 15 or 16 days. But 13 days, we should, if anything they were telling us about coronavirus before all this was remotely true, we should be starting to see a lot more people getting sick with coronavirus. But that's not happening. Look at this. Missing person. So what about these peripheral crimes that are happening and peripheral injuries that people are getting involved with just because of all this stuff? She was last seen 10 p.m. crossing the Brooklyn Bridge. Well, what happened to her? What about that? What about just other crimes that the police now can't address because everybody's out here peacefully protesting after 8 p.m.? What about the fact that, this is the other really objectionable thing that Andrew Cuomo did during his press conference today. He reiterated the newly reinvigorated meme from Al Sharpton, where he said, "Justice delayed is justice denied." Now, this is true. This is absolutely true in the sense that somebody who spends most of their life in jail and then doesn't get found innocent. Be safe, gentlemen. Anybody who spends the rest of their life in jail and then is found innocent, we've heard about all these guys who DNA testing after they were given the death penalty, they're found not guilty or whatever. That's a good example of justice delayed is justice denied. It's not really justice if the person gets it after they're dead. If Derek Chauvin, if they sort of equivocated and Chauvin was allowed to roll around and he killed somebody this week, or took a year to prosecute him and he killed somebody else or chokeholded somebody else, that would be a good example of justice delayed being justice denied. But I think it took 5 days or a week or something for them to charge the guy. They said it was the fastest this type of charge had ever been brought in that jurisdiction. I mean, reasonable people who actually want justice and peace and the things that are being claimed by these so-called peaceful protesters would recognize that justice is underway. And we don't have this concept of instant street justice. That's vigilantism, that's anarchy, that's craziness. I don't think we are really wanting to have that. But for them to have the guy in jail within a week and be charging him with murder and his 4 accomplices, I think that justice is in motion, and we should give it an opportunity to take hold and do what it does. And I would love to see people like Andrew Cuomo and truly peaceful protesters of injustice to encourage everybody who's involved in tearing up the city to allow justice a moment to do its thing. And, let's have a dialogue, because you say you want justice, okay. I do too. We start that process, it would make sense to stop the injustice of rioting and destroying people's businesses. And that's how we're going to have a peaceful process, a peaceful back and forth. If you say, okay, now we got justice there, now we want justice against all these other cops, that's revenge. And I don't think too many people are going to be down for that. Okay, it feels like it's about to start raining really hard right now. Holy cow. So this is the line for Trader Joe's here. That's a huge line. I don't know if I want to walk all the way down to Washington Square Park and get rained on over here. But, heavy rain could go a long way to suppressing any rioting. I'm starting to have some sympathy for the NYPD. I mean, 13 days of being out here every night, not knowing if you're going to get set on fire, have a brick thrown at your head, have a bat beat over you, your car set on fire, an explosion, whatever might happen. I think I'm about to get totally rained on. All right, let me make a right here. The cops are under pressure. That's the other thing you got to keep in mind. Again, I've been trying, people have seen me kind of challenge and speak to the cops in ways that some people haven't liked. But not during this period. I'm not going to do that. I mean, when nobody was out on the streets and they were standing around. By the way, we now see what it looks like to have a police presence around, and that was not around at all during the majority of this coronavirus lockdown. So I'm not interested in antagonizing the police when they're involved in the business of preventing the city from descending into chaos. Defunding the police and eliminating jail and letting everybody out of jail, what do we think would be happening on this street right now? Do we think that these people who get out of jail would just suddenly become calm and peaceful?
He wants to say hi.
It's a beautiful dog.
Says hello.
Hello. Oh, what is this dog's name?
Get wet. Come in here. Come under.
What is this dog's name?
This is Snowball.
Oh my goodness, so beautiful. Hello, Snowball.
Come here.
Sorry, yes. All right, well, listen, have a nice night, you and Snowball. Take care. So there's opportunities to have nice conversations with people on the street in New York City. It's raining so hard suddenly. I mean, again, maybe that's a good thing. Oh, it's also might screw with the phone, because you get water on the surface of the phone and it's going to start pushing buttons. Okay, so I'm going to head out of this rain. I really just wanted to get out and do a video again, just sort of check out the city. There hasn't been a lot of overnight reports last night of danger or riots or police getting shot and stabbed in the neck like there were the previous nights, but I don't feel that that's a justification for releasing this curfew. I think that until we know that there are not people intent on rioting and destroying businesses, how do we reestablish calm? How do we reestablish people's confidence that they can open their business without it getting destroyed? How do we get to a point where we can walk down the street and these businesses don't have wood on them and we don't feel like we're living in a war zone? I would hate to live on one of these street level apartments. I forgot the third phone again, so I hope this was going out live. This indicates that everything is okay, but I can't see comments, and I'm not 100% sure of that. But if people didn't get a chance to see David Hawkins' Discovery CSI yesterday, David's been making some amazing discoveries with regard to this George Floyd murder. Everyone knows that 8 minutes and 46 seconds is the amount of time Derek Chauvin was pressing his knee into the neck of George Floyd, making sure that he was dead. But I don't know if as many people remember that that is the time. 8:46 a.m. is the time that the first plane hit the World Trade Center. So that's a bizarre coincidence. But I hope that people will get on to patreon.com/crowdsourcethetruth and subscribestar.com/crowdsourcethetruth. And also patreon.com/reverse-CSI-storyboards and watch yesterday's episode of David Hawkins' show to see what he has to say about the Oxford double cross and some of the things about the George Floyd murder that might not be immediately apparent. I'd like to go talk to those 10th Precinct cops, but I got a particular issue with the 10th Precinct, and I just don't think they want to be bothered. And it just started raining harder. So I'll stay under this scaffolding. But I mean, people can see this is my neighborhood right here. And I mean, basically everything is closed. My favorite hamburger restaurant over there went out of business. Gotta go, I think they still have one at the Chelsea, what the hell is that thing called? Chelsea Market. But you know, I can't run over there for a quick lunch. So, I mean, this is going to have lasting impact on this neighborhood. That dude from Washington State, I guess, doesn't care about what the impact is on the people who live in this neighborhood, whether they're black or white or whatever. But, you know, we've seen firsthand statements from black people whose businesses have been destroyed. David Dorn, the retired police chief security officer who was murdered by looters. St. Louis police have now released a video that shows 7 persons of interest, people who were looting that store. Also, the other thing to be aware of, you know, if you're some, you know, peaceful protester who's out, if you are just in the proximity of these things, you may be charged with rioting, which is a felony. And depending on what you do, if you pick something up, if you step into a thing that's been broken into or whatever, you could be charged with a felony, which is going to be very time consuming and expensive to deal with when it gets to lawyering and explaining how you were a peaceful protester and how much your virtuous effort to destroy property is helping, or whatever it is that you're going to tell the judge. But I guarantee it's not going to be pleasant. And so the best bet is do all your peaceful protesting now during the day and just make sure you're off the street by 8 p.m. I'm very, very concerned about this Monday, June 8th opening of New York City, given the current state of everything. Now, this building right here has been vacant for many, many years. This is like this on an ordinary day, so don't be alarmed. Just an unrented space that calls itself the artisanal postmodern slum. I don't know why. But if you know anybody who is out in New York City right now and they listen to you and they don't listen to me, send them a text message and let them know that it's in their best interest and the best interest of a truly peaceful movement to be off the street and home at 8 p.m. And maybe start doing that at 7 p.m. so you can make sure that you're not stuck waiting for a subway. They're running far less frequently than they have been. There's no Ubers. People already know about that. But just don't be on the street. Don't be distracting the police from stopping what could be dangerous looting and rioting. Because the other thought that I've been having for some time is that it would be pretty strategic for the looters and rioters to let up for a couple nights and cause the police to relax their posture to some extent so that they could come out and hit harder. And I'm concerned that that might happen Monday night, because that's when everybody's going to be, you know, getting ready to open up. Here, this Taco Bell is like, I guess, back to open, but you gotta, okay, so they're already putting up signs for Monday. It said guests have to wear masks when they're in the restaurant. Previously, that was you're not allowed in the restaurant. The bike store has been real active, and there was a guy wearing a mask, not on his face, and coughing. So, I mean, this is arbitrary, this wearing of the masks. A lot of helicopters. If we defund the police, how are they going to pay for jet fuel for the helicopters? How are they going to prevent other crimes? What happens if there's another terrorist attack like September 11th? If you're supporting an organization that wants to defund the police rather than actually address the problem sensibly, oh wait, look, here's somebody handing out signs. Do you have any more signs?
Yeah.
Who gave you those signs?
Steve Powers, the artist. It's copyright free, so feel free.
Who paid to print them?
I printed it myself. You can go to his website and get a free printable.
And are you down for defunding the police?
Absolutely.
What happens in the city when there's no longer any police?
There will be police. They don't need to be militarized. They should be serving and protecting.
Yeah, but what does defunding them do to demilitarize them? What if they just fire half of them and keep them militarized?
There's a lot of different ways that can be done.
So
But we've been talking about police reform for a long time, and asking them to be nice isn't enough. The fact that we spent since 9/11 all this money to buy them tanks and riot gear and all this other shit is ridiculous, and it could have gone to teachers and social services.
so you think destroying all the buildings around is a better solution?
I don't think that destroying the buildings is a better solution.
So don't you think it would make sense to dialogue with the police and have a bit of a back and
But
forth?
that's been going on forever.
So now it's time for a war, is that it?
No, it's not a war. But yes, it's time for change.
Okay.
We've been talking about change for a long, long time.
Do you know, are you aware of Assata Shakur? Do you know who that is?
No, I do not know what's on it.
What's the name of the women who founded Black Lives Matter? I can't remember their names, but their ideological idol is Assata Shakur.
Okay, I'll look it up. Thank you for educating.
She's a cop killer, and she advocates prison reform, which means
look it up.
nobody in prison, no police. So everybody that is supporting this right now without understanding what it's about is
Thank you for
supporting the
educating. I will
absolute
look
degradation
into
of
it more.
society. Thank you.
Thank
Have a
you,
nice
you
day.
too.
Try to be home by 8.
Yeah, excuse me.
You can have that one. I just wanted to ask her about it. Do you know who Assata Shakur is?
Yeah.
You do? Do you know that she killed a cop?
What are you working for?
I'm working to restore order and eliminate crime in the city.
How are you doing that? With walking around with your phone?
No, trying to talk to people like you and hope that you will educate yourself about what Black Lives Matter is doing to manipulate people. Black lives do matter, of course, but Assata Shakur is a murderer, and she's the ideological mentor of the founders of Black Lives Matter. I think that people should know that.
Can you not record me? So can you delete that if I am on your
I'm not going to delete it. It's going out live. You can leave if you don't want to be recorded, but when you're out in public,
By my car.
yeah, you're in public, so I'm allowed to record you. Have a nice day. Anyway, I am.
My car and I ask you to stop recording.
Well, I'm allowed to do it. You're here in
You're
public.
actually not allowed. Can you get away from my car?
No, I can do whatever I want. You can get your car away from me. You're parked in a bus lane. It says no standing.
Oh, but I actually can read, so if you want to use your glasses and read that it says Monday through Friday, 4 p.m. to 7 p.m., and it's Saturday. So,
Okay,
stop
so
recording me.
you're not allowed to stand
Stop
here.
recording me.
No, you can leave, but I'm going to continue recording you.
It's actually illegal to record someone without their consent.
No, it's not. Not in
Okay.
public. Not in public. Your door is open. You're here. You're engaging in conversation. You know
Because
you're
you're
being
by my
recorded.
car.
Yeah, you can leave. You're free to
You
leave.
can move from my car.
You have no right to tell me what to do. If you don't like being recorded, you can
Is
leave.
there like security for this
Yeah,
building?
call the
If she's
security.
by my
Call the
car, you
security.
won't move.
I'm standing in the street as you are, and you can move your car.
So if anyone would like to assist me because he won't move.
Why don't you
from
call
my
the
car,
police? Call the
thank
police.
you.
Call the police. Call them now. And you can tell them how you want to defund them and you like the people that kill them and that you think that I don't have a right to stand in the street, but you have a right to
Nobody
stand in the
wants to
street.
talk to you guys on your white privilege, so please get away from my
Hey,
car.
Miss Lexus.
And I actually did
Who bought you
ask-
this car? What's your
actually
job?
did
What's
ask
your
for
privilege?
security.
That's racist for you to say, okay?
I'm racist.
Yeah, you just said I have
I
white
wanna
privilege.
educate people on what like systems are, manipulation.
Where'd you
but
get this
actually
car?
don't know anything.
Where'd you get this car?
You don't need to know anything about
Oh, so I have
systems
white
and
privilege,
movement.
but you're here in a Lexus telling me that I'm not allowed to stand in the street and run a video camera. Is that it?
Because you're recording my car and you're recording me.
Yes, you're
And
in
I asked
public.
you- and I asked you politely to stop.
Not politely. You asked me rudely, okay? You stopped
actually
being
did.
polite
I actually
quite a
did.
while ago, okay?
Is security coming for him? Because
Security
I've
has
lost
no jurisdiction over this street.
Ask you to stop, man. Go ahead, man. Go.
1,000 times.
Yeah, you know what? I'm in
Get
public
away
here.
from my car. And
Get
stop
your car away from me.
6 feet. What happened to the 6 feet rule, bro?
Hey,
What happened to the 6 feet
you
rule?
just walked up to me, man.
Because you harassing her.
No, I'm not harassing her. She's harassing me. Where's security? Come here. Does security have jurisdiction here in the street? What's going on is I'm walking around. I asked this woman if she's aware of Assata Shakur. Do you know who that is?
Am I aware that the Black Lives Movement is manipulative and ruining police and like white
That's not what I said. I didn't say anything about white privilege. You're driving a Lexus. You're telling me about my white privilege while you're driving a Lexus and telling me I can't stand in public.
Yeah, thank you.
What? It's got nothing, but why has she got to assume that I have white privilege?
What are you recording her for?
I live in this neighborhood. I'm allowed to stand out here running a camera.
What are you recording her for? What is your purpose?
What are you standing here in my neighborhood yelling at me for? I'm allowed.
Your neighborhood?
Yeah, I live right here. I'm allowed to stand here.
So am I.
Okay, I'm not telling you to leave. Where's the
What is
6
your-
feet?
So what is your purpose of videotaping her?
You just hit me with your bike, bro.
I did?
Yeah.
So press charges then.
I'm not going to press charges,
Press
but
charges,
this
yeah.
is not
What is your
polite.
purpose of videotaping?
I'm walking down the street. I was
Okay.
holding a Black Lives Matter sign. She asked me for it. I gave it to her. I asked her if she knows who Assata Shakur is. Do you know who Assata Shakur is?
I asked him nicely.
No, not Tupac's mom. That's a falsehood that's been told to people because it's not true.
Whatever it is.
You're free to leave. I'm standing here in my neighborhood running a
Okay, I'm
camera,
still
making a
asking-
selfie
I'm
video.
still asking
She
you.
got on my video. I don't have to leave because she tells me to
Still
leave.
asking
This
you
is
why-
public.
I'm still asking you why you recording her.
Why do I need to tell you why? I live in this neighborhood.
Dying for a lawsuit.
Anybody can run
Because you
a
are
video
recording
camera.
us without our consent, and I asked you to move.
I don't need your consent to record you in public, and you have not asked me nicely. You've been rude. I do not. If you're going to come out here in public, I have a right to record you.
What is your purpose of all of this?
My purpose, you see all these boards on all the businesses? You see all the people who are afraid to come out of their houses? You see how we've all been locked inside for 3 months? Because we've been lied to. We've been lied to by the government.
About what?
Coronavirus. You see all these people who've been rolling around next to each other for 13 days, and the numbers of coronavirus keep going down. Oh, stop talking to me! Stop talking to me! You don't have any right to talk to me. You told me to stop talking to you.
Tell my daughter she doesn't have any rights.
She's telling me what my rights are. You telling me what my rights are.
Talk to me. You want to record me? Here you go. He wants to record on this live statement. I'm being very respectful to you.
No, you're not.
You're recording my car without my consent.
You're in public.
You're in public without a mask on. You're actually harming all of you.
No, I'm not.
Without
You're
a mask.
yelling in my face
You
without a
wanna
mask.
talk about, oh,
You are a
keeping
hypocrite,
the
miss.
stuff-
Tell me your name.
No.
Okay. You don't have to, but I can ask her. I'm having a conversation. I'm walking down the street.
Don't tell me to stop
You
talking.
approached me.
Put your finger in my face again.
You've been pointing
Stop
to me. You approached me.
You're disgusting.
Okay, I'm disgusting. You approached me. I'm having a conversation. You told me to get out of here. I'm in public. I have just as much right to be here as anybody does. And I'm trying to tell you that the ideological founder of Black Lives Matter is a cop killer who fled, went to Cuba, and the women who started Black Lives Matter, they don't tell you about that. They want to defund the police. They want to let every violent criminal out of jail. You see what's happening around here?
They want to let every violent
Yes, they
criminal out of
do.
jail.
Ask them what
Why are you
prison
talking out
reform
of
is.
your ass?
Go look it up. That's what they want.
Okay, every single criminal they want released out of jail.
Go ask the leaders
Okay,
of Black
that's what
Lives
we
Matter.
want.
I didn't say we.
They want
I said the
everybody
leaders.
unblocked. They
I
want-
said
we
the
want
leaders.
everybody-
See how you're
we want
selectively
everybody-
listening? Do you see how you're
want
selectively
every
listening?
criminal
I didn't say we. You're changing what I said. I said the ideological founder of Black Lives Matter, Assata Shakur. She wants everybody released from prison. She wants no police. You see the boards on all these businesses around here? They're getting smashed. Oh, good, the police are here. I'm walking down the street holding a sign.
He keeps approaching me closely and cutting me off, and I've expressed
This is
to
6
him-
feet. 6 feet.
Okay. I was trying to with my mother. She just got out in the supermarket. I feel like he's being very violent with me and aggressive. I told him repeatedly to
She
stop
approached me.
He approached my car. I'm in my car, minding my business with my dog. I said, please delete the stuff.
No. You came up to me.
Continuing to-
She's lying.
He's continuing.
She's
to-
lying. It's all on video.
He's continuing to record me. I asked nicely, stop recording me, stop recording me, stop
She's in
recording me.
public. I have every
He
right
said
to
he has
record.
Every right to record me. I said you're not allowed to
She can
record
leave.
my property. Then
She
he
could
had
drive
the
around the
audacity
corner, call her mom.
to say, "You wanna talk about-
She said I have white privilege, so I said Miss Lexus. She's agitating. She started this. I was standing in the street and she approached me. It's on video. I told her, right. No, not deleting it. You have no right to tell me to delete a video. Take a picture of me, sue me. Sue me. Sue me. Tell me your name and you can sue me. And you can argue with a judge and you can rely on the police and the justice system that you are trying to destroy.
Where do you work?
Do you know me? Do you know her?
Why do I need to
Trying
give you any information about
Who
me?
the fuck are you to say that we're trying to? You can record that. I'll say it again.
I'll tell you who the fuck I am.
What do you think you are to tell me?
I'm
that
someone trying to
I have
educate you
family
about things that you
members who
don't
are
know
police
about.
Officers. So you don't
Well,
fucking
you
know
want to
me,
defund the
mister.
police?
Mister,
You want to
don't
defund?
know
Don't
me,
point your
mister.
finger at me. Oh, I thought that was a
I'm
huge
over here
offense.
In your face.
I gave you the
I'm
sign. You
finished.
came up to me. You said, "Can I have the sign?" I gave it to you. You could have stayed in your
keep
car and
doing-
ignored me. You approached
You
me.
keep doing what you need to do and what
You
say
got your
you're
car
here
parked
for.
here. I'm allowed to record it. You're in public.
Miss Lexus, you have no idea. You don't know anybody. You don't know me. You don't know her. So
Well, you
just
can
keep
sue me.
doing-
You can
just
sue
keep
me.
doing what
You
do.
can call the police, which I agree with. You should
just
call the
keep doing
police.
what you do.
But the ultimate goal of what Black Lives Matter wants to do is defund the police and release every criminal
He's
into
an
jail.
asshole Because yeah, that's what we wanted to.
Because I'm an
defund the
asshole.
police.
Because I'm walking down the street and I handed your daughter a Black Lives Matter sign. So everybody can see the dialogue that we're having. I handed her a sign. I asked her if she knew who the ideological founders of Black Lives Matter was. She became angry. She attracted this crowd that's being very belligerent. She called the police, which I think you should do. That was a good thing to do. The police are here.
Yeah, 'cause we're trying to defund the police.
You acting ridiculous. Ask them to come.
Perfect.
Not everyone can
To
see I'm
defund
a young
the
woman
police.
and you're an old man yelling at me for no reason.
No, I'm not yelling at you, actually. I was helping you. I gave you the sign you asked for.
You were helping.
You told me.
I would love to help you with the education.
Yeah, except you're ignorant, so you're unable to do that.
Except because of them.
I didn't say that. You're another person who speaks without knowing what's going
I
on.
know she told me what you said.
But
No,
she's
she
ignorant,
lied.
She doesn't know what's going on.
Yes, she is.
Check your misogyny.
Check my
Because now
misogyny.
you're talking to someone. It doesn't have
Is this
to
the
do with
polite
race. She's
part?
a white woman
Is this the
and you're
polite
being
part?
ridiculous.
Oh, I'm being ridiculous. You're
Yeah,
the one
it's
screaming
not
at me
polite
in the
anymore
street.
because I'm obviously
Not polite.
agitated with you.
Right, you're not polite. You're rude.
Why are you recording?
Do not record my
Because
messages.
at any
Wait.
second, these people could start attacking me and everything
people.
I'm doing.
Oh, we're gonna
These people right here, these people right
But I
here,
have
who
privilege,
you've
right?
called, I
But
didn't
I have
say that.
privilege.
Look
You
at how
did.
you're turning
You did.
everything around. Look at how you're turning
Already started
everything around.
all around.
Sorry?
I think you need some education.
Why don't you educate me?
No, I'm not going to
Get out of people's face. You're not 6 feet
She
away.
walked up to me.
You're not 6 feet
She
away.
walked up to
some
me, you
education.
agitator. Educate me. Educate
No,
me.
it's not my job.
Well, what do I
from-
need to
are
be
you from
educated
here?
about?
I'm,
Are you from
on
here?
what you just did.
I can't wait for
On what you just said on your wording.
What do you say?
On your wording.
Well, it's all recorded. You should listen to it. You should go to Crowdsource the Truth and listen to it. My name is Jason Goodman. I'll tell you exactly who I am. I hope you sue me.
You should
I hope
be
you do.
ashamed of yourself.
I should be ashamed of myself. You just came up to me and started telling me what to do without having any idea what's going on. Oh, so she said it, so that's true, huh? Did she play you a recording of what happened? How do you know what she said was true?
On what she said.
Yeah, because she can't remember what happened from 1 minute to the next. So you trust her. Oh, she must be right. Okay, so facts and evidence don't matter. What she said must be right.
I got enough of a snippet from the shit that you said
Oh.
to know that she's legit.
She's approaching me now. You're closer than 6 feet. So, okay, you're an agitator. Yeah, you need an education as well. Why are you staying around if you don't want to be around me? All right, so I'd like to give you my statement, officers. I was walking down the street. I live here. This is my apartment building. I was walking down the street. A woman was here handing out Black Lives Matter sign, and I agree, Black lives do matter. You're a police officer. You appear, whatever it is you are, you work for the NYPD. It says police department here, and without the risk of being racist, you appear black. So I think your life matters. The point I was trying to make is I'm walking with a sign.
Flag for this a block away.
There we go.
This is the gentleman that's for.
I'm walking home. Let me explain the story because you weren't here. I'm walking home, officers, and a woman was on a bicycle here, a white woman with Black Lives Matter signs. She's handing them out to people. Okay. Now, I've observed multiple reports of people coming from out of state, agitating, handing out supplies to rioters, and doing all kinds of things. So I walk up to this woman, and I asked her who printed the signs. She said, I printed the signs. I said, okay, do you know who Assata Shakur is? I don't know if you guys know. She's the ideological mentor of Black Lives Matter, and she's an unconvicted cop killer. She is for defunding the police, eliminating all prisons, and releasing criminals. Okay, so I had that conversation with the woman handing out the Black Lives Matter signs. She said, thank you, I didn't know that, and she left. Then this young woman approaches and says, do you have any more signs? And I said, you can have this one. The woman even said, you can have it, he doesn't really want it. So I politely handed it to this young woman, and I asked her if she knows who Assata Shakur is, and she doesn't. So I started to explain to her that Black Lives Matter's ultimate goal is to defund the police, release every single criminal from prison, and create a New York City that looks like this. I'm still speaking, ma'am. Please back up. I'm still speaking.
And I said that, yeah, all Black Lives people.
I didn't say all Black Lives people. I said the goal of Black Lives Matter is to defund the police and release every criminal.
And I said I have family members that are police officers. So for you to say that it's bullshit, for you to say that all lives matter people want to
I did not say that. I never said that.
I had police officers.
I never said that. You're angry at me for something I didn't say.
You're an asshole.
Well, that's your opinion. That's fine. But what your opinion is formed on things that I didn't say or do.
Okay, so go ahead, sir.
So I started having a conversation with this young woman, letting her know that Assata Shakur is an unconvicted cop killer and is dangerous, and that you're supporting a movement that ultimately wants to destroy the city. And she got agitated, and she told me I have white privilege. So I said, okay, Miss Lexus, tell me about my privilege. Because I think that was a racist thing for her to say. She doesn't know me. She doesn't know anything about me. And then it became this whole argument. All these people started coming around. There was a guy on a bicycle who wisely has left because he was a muscle-bound dude.
Did anybody touch you, sir?
Yes, the guy on the bicycle who left. And they all collectively gave me the sense that I was in imminent danger, the way your officers must feel when people are yelling at them.
We're here right now. We're going to get someone here to take a report for you.
Okay.
Just remember the description if you have it on
I
your
do,
film thing.
yes.
Okay, all right.
Now, wait a minute. I don't want to press charges on the guy on the bike because he didn't deliberately hurt me, but you asked me if he touched me, and he did.
Well, do you want to make a report?
No, I don't need to make a police report. I just wanted you to know what's going on. I want these people to know what's going on.
That's fine, sir. That's fine. They have a right to say what they want to
Yes.
say, just like you do.
And I have a right to record people in public, don't
absolutely,
I? Okay.
Absolutely.
So I just
But
want that to be understood.
I just want to be clear. You do not want to make a report, and nobody touched you.
I don't want to do. No, well, someone did touch me, but not in a violent or purposeful, aggressive way. He just bumped his bike into me, trying to create a deliberate barrier between me and her. I don't want to disrupt you guys any further.
You're not disrupting me at all.
You got much more important things to do. I'm glad you stopped. I'm glad this has been diffused. I want to leave is what I want to do.
Well, I'd like to make a report. Since
Okay, if you would like to make a report, then we'll do it. Then we'll do it. I'll stay.
Right. Let's get a second car here from whatever this is. Take a 61 to this gentleman here, and we'll be on our way. Okay?
Will a report be taken from this woman as well?
No, a report will be taken because you said somebody hit you with your.
I didn't say he hit me. You said you wanted a report.
I said, did anyone hit you with anything? And you
said did anyone touch me?
Okay, you might be right. Did anyone touch you? You said yes, somebody touched you.
But not in a violent or intentional way, and
So
I
you
don't
do not-
think we need a. I don't want a police report.
Okay,
If
you
you
don't
want
want
me to help you, I will do that, but I do not want to make an issue out of it.
If you don't want to make a police report,
Let's agree to leave. What I'd like is for you to stay here while I walk away so that nobody follows me. How does that
Nobody's
sound?
gonna
Okay. What's your name, you coward? Antagonizing.
you want-
He just called me an asshole. He's antagonizing.
So my question is, do you want
I want to leave. Okay, so this is what we get. We get ignorant people who jump to conclusions. We got all these people. The video is there. People can watch the video. This is what's become of New York City.